can't help it. I love it. I love Harry Potter. And it's the coolest ride if you haven't been on it.
Well, I want to welcome you to Spooky Empire's Ultimate Horror Weekend. I know this is your first visit here.
It is.
And have you been to Orlando before?
I've been once. I came for a concert. But this is the first time I get to actually meet people, which is awesome.
Well, look at that. And I know everybody here is excited to have you. Right? Now, there are a lot of people in this room. This is a big room. So I'm sure there's a lot of questions that are going to be asked. We'll talk about some stuff and, we'll talk about your films and your career. And
I'll just pretend you're Dr. Phil.
I'm Dr. Phil. I don't like that.
I'm sorry.
I don't like that. Maybe Phil Donahue. But those are for the folks who are old enough to remember Phil Donahue. You may not remember Phil Donahue.
I know Dr. Phil.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I'll be Dr. Phil.
Okay.
Anyways, let's get this thing started. I like your films. I like your films a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I know, and one thing that I've always been very curious about is, I know your characters, a lot of the characters that you play are tough-talking women, but deep down inside they have a sense of class. Similar to the class that a lot of the actresses of the 40s, 30s had. Do you have any favorite actresses, or are you influenced by any of those old films, old actresses? Because it does seem like you do have that kind of...
Thank you. I really appreciate that. No, if I patterned myself on anybody, it would be Barbara Stanwyck. She did some of the most amazing films of all time. She was also just an actress who loved, she would do television, movies, bounce back and forth. And I did a movie called Jawbreaker. And I patterned that character on a movie called Leave Her to Heaven. And it's an actress named Jean Tierney, who's gorgeous. And she was really obsessed with only wanting her husband, and the husband to have nobody else in his life. So he had a kid in a wheelchair, and she pushed the kid off a cliff. And he said, "But darling, why did you do that?" "But honey, we needed more time alone." So I based Courtney Shane on somebody who's like, "I don't understand what the big deal is. Someone died. Hello, get over it. We've got things to do."
Well, it definitely shows, and just your look and the way you carry yourself on film is definitely...
I try to infuse some vulnerability also, even if they're tough. Maybe Conan the Barbarian, she had a little vulnerability too. She was weirdly in love with her father, so I guess that was her Achilles heel. But other than that, I know, isn't everybody? That just didn't sound right. Jesus Christ. Okay, next question.
Now, you've done all kinds of films. You've done comedies, obviously, horror, drama. Do you have a preference as to which type of film you like, or is it one of those things where a film is a film?
Well, so each one is like its own entity. And one of the reasons I love doing Charmed was actually because I got to do drama, comedy, and action, usually within one episode. So normally it takes the whole movie to do, you do a drama, or you do this. I would have to say I do love dramas because it kind of feels like it's really, it makes, you're doing a 14, 15-hour day, but it adds another element of kind of emotional exhaustion. But at the same time, I love being saucy and bitchy, so what are you going to do? It's a full-time job.
Was it a tough transition going from making films to doing a TV show?
It was a really tough transition. I went to 10 different schools in 11 years, so I was always moved around a lot, and I was never really around the same people. So when I did that, I couldn't believe I was around the same people day in and day out for months. And it was really strange getting used to the fact that I would know what I was doing 6 months on at 6:01 a.m. It was just I actually wound up going to hypnotherapy because I started having panic attacks. And then it was awesome. And then we became a family. And I'm still friends with them, and I still see a lot of the crew and a lot of the people. So it was also, I did about 80 to 100 hours a week for 5 years. So that'll make you old for your time.
Now, we do have some volunteers out in the crowd with some microphones, And so we are definitely taking questions. If anybody's got anything, please raise your hand and we'll have a microphone brought to you. Please stand up and speak clearly, because sometimes it is hard to hear you up on stage.
Hello. My big question is about your work in the grindhouse films. Now, in Planetary, you played a wonderful heroine, very badass, balls-to-the-wall character with no sympathy for pretty much anything. But then, in Death Proof, you turn around and play a total ditzy blonde. What was it like working on both of those films, coinciding with each other with such a dichotomy of characters?
Thank you for that question. I've loved being able to do Cherry Darling and then play Pam in Death Proof, totally different. I made Cherry, I tanned my skin. I wanted her to look more ethnic, a little bit more Italian, and just kind of dark and smoldering. And then with Pam, I wanted her to look really, really angelic, so it was extra sad and her face got shattered. It was very conscious on my part to, excuse me, look very angelic, so I just wanted people to feel really bad for her. And it was really me in the car, and I did almost shatter my cheekbone, and I got a concussion, but it looked badass and it was totally worth it.
We have someone else in here.
Hello.
Hi.
I do have one question about it's about your death scene in Scream. And of course, that was not your head getting crushed, that was a dummy, but were you really getting rised up when half your body was stuck through the garage?
That was...
While you were getting raised?
Yes, that was really me going up and down in the garage door at Scream, and it was a full-size standard garage door. So I did that for about 12 hours, and I had bruises from about here to about here, just purple all the way around, but I picked up an interesting ability from that. I learned that I fit through dog doors. And so they actually had to nail my shirt into it so I wouldn't fall through, but that's how I get into my houses when I'm locked out. I go through my dog, I'm not kidding, I go through my dog door. And they're not really big dog doors because I have a Boston Terrier, but I can do this weird L shape. So I live in paranoia that a 9-year-old is going to break into my house. But so far, yeah, if I've taken away anything from Scream, it's saved me a lot of calls to the locksmith.
That's interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now you just mentioned that you did your own stunt for Scream and as well for the Death Proof with the car.
And Planet Terror.
And Planet Terror. Do you do most of your stunt work in all your films, or do you?
I do. I do about 96% of them. There was a scene where I was being dragged through the woods in Planet Terror, and there were chiggers. So then I thought, well, Dana, my stunt woman, should really have a crack at this. I'm not just nice, I'm evil. No, it was, but it was so fun. I was a ballerina, and I had this kind of little arms and whatever, but my brain is like Scrappy Doo. I'm like, God damn it, I'm tougher and I'm stronger. So I get hurt a lot. I had 3 surgeries after Planet Terror on my arm. I had part of my elbow bone taken out. I wound up being paralyzed on my right arm except for my 2 little fingers. And it's back to life. But I'm like the reanimator. I can't keep it in. But it's so much fun, and in the moment I don't notice any physical pain because I've learned to not complain, because if you complain about anything, then the producers won't let you do it. And they treat actors, to be fair, a lot of actors are kind of wussy and whiny. Yes. To be fair, I mean, a guy's like, what? I have to wear a t-shirt, but I have to do a stunt. I'm like, have you seen what girls get to wear in films? It's nothing. So stop complaining and man the fuck up. Sorry you had to curse, ladies.
Oh, trust me, she signed for the Boondock Saints Q&A. She signed far worse.
I had a really funny, Sarah Silverman hosted an award show that I was at, and she made the poor ladies do like, vagina, vagina, vagina. I bet you didn't think you'd be hearing that word 3 times today.
All right, we have any questions out there? Any microphones? Okay, right over here.
I see one right there.
Hi. So with the diversity of your life, I was a little personal. I was wondering what your dreams are like, what you experience there.
My dreams for my future or my dreams at night?
At night.
At night, I have a lot of nightmares, to be honest with you. I don't know, I go to sleep with the ID crime channel on all the time. They have really, subtle, really soothing voiceovers, but then I'll wake up and they'll be like, the hatchet to her neck. So I do have a lot of violent dreams, but it's my own fault. And I save people a lot in my dreams. I'm always trying to save people from getting killed, so I'm a superhero then too, at least in my dreams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we have someone over here who has a question, and if we can get a microphone to her in the meantime, I'm going to ask you, what would you consider is your breakthrough role out of all the films? Is there one specific role that you think really put you over the top?
It's hard to say because some of the stuff I've done, it appeals to so many different types of people. So what could be considered a breakthrough to one crowd would be something else. But I guess Scream. If that was, it was the first time I kind of started understanding what the acting world was, because I was never trying to be an actor. It was really accidental. So when I did my first movie, The Doom Generation, I didn't understand what the hell was going on. In Scream, I kind of started getting it, and I started understanding, the public aspect of it, and da-da-da-da. So I would say that one, I guess, And got to work with, I thought everybody was going to be like Wes Craven, and they weren't. But he is a one-of-a-kind original, and I hope you all get to see him someday, because he is the loveliest man. He's so smart.
Hopefully we'll get him here one day. Maybe you could put in a good word for us.
I will.
We have a question over here?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I was really happy to see you in Conan, and I was really looking forward to seeing you in some other projects. And I really want to know what are your current projects? What do you have upcoming?
Well, upcoming, I've taken a little bit of time off because I'm developing something to direct myself. And I'm really excited about that. I'm not going to be in it. Thank you. There are far more women in Congress than there are in the Directors Guild. And, something like a 10-to-1 ratio. Very, very few women directors. And I've worked on sets with female directors where the actresses were really mean to them and tried to sink them. And I've never quite understood why. Obviously Catherine Bigelow's super badass. If I could pattern myself, like anybody, Jesus, it would be her. I'm adapting a short story called A Good Man is Hard to Find, and it's from Flannery O'Connor's short story. It's not about a girl trying to find a man, trust me. It ends in carnage. But then I'm also going to be doing a movie in the spring in New York, and see, this will, it's a dark comedy, and I play this burnout stoner. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to just sitting there and smoking and wearing some comfortable clothes.
We have a question over here?
Hello. When I think of the movies you've done, one that stands out as being one of the most different would be Ready to Rumble. Can you tell us about how you got involved with that? Maybe a story from the set?
Well, that movie, thank you. The director had just done Varsity Blues, and so everyone was saying, oh, and I said no to it 4 times. I kept throwing the script in the trash. I was like, I'm not interested in wrestling. I don't care. And then I fished it out and read it, and it was actually really funny. It's silly. It's like slapstick humor, but slapstick can be a good time also. That character it was a little tricky because they literally didn't know until the last scene I filmed if they wanted to make her good or evil. So every day you have to play a scene in both ways, that she could either be bad or good at the end of it. So that was a little strange. But other than that, I just had ridiculous outfits and got to dance with a bunch of cheerleader people, so what's not to love?
Now, you mentioned earlier that you got into acting by accident. How did that come about?
I was standing out in front of a gym in Los Angeles, and I was standing outside because I refused to be one of those LA people that went and worked out. And I was standing in front with my arms crossed and like this sour look like on my face, and this woman knew the friend that was in there with me, and she said she'd be perfect for this Gregoraki movie. Do you want to be an actress? No. Do you want to do this? No. Do you want to go meet Gregoraki? He's in the valley. I'm not going to the valley. And I sounded exactly like my character, who I based on me as a snarly 15-year-old. It's pretty much like this really tough iron girl, but if you pushed her, she'd crack kind of thing. And that was kind of how I started. They made me go to Sundance. I didn't know what that was. Lawyers were giving me their cards, and I just thought they were creepy old men that wanted to sleep with me. I didn't know actors needed lawyers. I didn't know anything. And so I've learned kind of backwards. I mean, a lot of people, they start their careers really, really, really young, like 2 months old, 4 months old. And I started by doing a lead role in a movie, so I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I didn't know what I was doing, and unlike a lot of the people in my business, I didn't have any parents in the business, behind the scenes or in front of the scenes. So I've kind of, figured it out on my own as you kind of walk your way through, if that makes any sense. I'm muddling on through with you all as company.
We have there we go.
Nice to meet you, and I really appreciate the diversity of looks that you give for all of your films. Do you read the script before you choose a hair color?
Yes, and I usually adjust my voice slightly, so it depends. On Charm, she had a little bit of a higher voice, and Planet Terror, Cherry had a bit of a lower voice. I read the lines until the voice kind of comes to me, and I do. I think the outfits and the hair kind of make it. You kind of work from the outside in. Once you get that, then the character kind of comes to life. But I do like having different hair aboard. I just chopped all my hair off now. It's awesome because I kind of am, well, at least I think, I'm pretty invisible with this hair. What I've got going on, that's kind of cool. And I feel a little more badass. Instead of just, in LA, you always just have to have long, pretty hair. As an actress, you kind of can't have a look, and I've just decided to say, fuck it. Sorry.
We have someone in the back. Next question.
I just have a basic question. What are 3 of your favorite horror movies?
Ooh. Silence of the Lambs. Carrie. Probably The Exorcist. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. My friend, a little trivia fact, actually, the guy that played the priest in The Exorcist, my best friend that I was with at that LA gym when I got discovered, that's his dad. So it's all like linked.
Jason Miller.
Jason Miller.
Excellent actor. Joshua Miller?
Joshua Miller.
Ah.
He was in River's Edge, Near
Excellent
Dark,
movie.
which I think is the best vampire film of all
I have to
time.
agree.
Literally is, and the score is just, it's gorgeous.
No, I agree, because that's one of my all-time favorite vampire films as well.
Me too.
And Joshua Miller's a great actor.
Joshua Miller's great, and he is a really big writer. He's represented by CAA, which is a huge agency, and he's the one who's adapting the short film for me.
Oh, that's good. That's,
Yeah.
that's even better news.
I know, I can make
More
it work for
exciting.
free.
Do you have any? Okay, we have someone here, someone there. All right, sir.
Hi, Rose. You say you kind of fell into acting by accident, but your first film, The Dim Generation, which me and my friends have been watching for years, you really captured something with that role. Whether it was on purpose or by accident, you kind of defined the angst of a young girl in that period of time. Wonderful job.
Thank you.
Would you share some of your experiences with that role?
That movie was like trial by fire because I had no idea what to do. I grew up, like I said, in a lot of different places. In some of the schools, I was really popular. In some schools, it was heavy bullying. So I basically thought there were idiots on both sides. And I would read all the time, I still do, to kind of escape reality. And I used to kind of impersonate the characters, whatever I was reading, man or woman, poor, rich, whatever. And so when I approached the Doom generation, I had no idea what to do. And so I just thought, well, I'll just make it like I'm reading a book. And again, I based it on me when I was a 15-year-old. Just a snarly little dickhead, but who's really sad on the inside, basically. You know, and the thing is, Greg Araki actually wanted the two guys to kind of have their thumb over the girl. And I was like, no. So I kind of subverted the whole thing. And he didn't really notice that until the end, and he actually was mad at me for a while, that I changed the dynamic of the film, but please, I'm not gonna have two guys like have their thumbs over my head. It's not gonna happen in this life.
Now, you just mentioned you like reading. You just filmed The Telltale Heart. Are you a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe's?
I am. The Telltale Heart, I read that short story when I was 4 years old. And that actually did give me nightmares also. I was really lucky to be a part of it. You know, you do a movie, you have no idea how it's going to turn out, if it's bad or good. But the script was really good, and it was a great experience shooting it. And getting to do anything by Edgar Allan Poe in any way is and shoot it in New Orleans, you know, where it's all gothic and amazingly beautiful. It was a really fun time.
Now, are there any literary characters that you would like to portray in a film that hasn't been already done?
Ooh.
Or that has been done?
Well, if I was going to be a girl, I'd want to be Scarlett O'Hara.
I can see that.
But if I was a guy, probably want to be the Count of Monte Cristo. He went through quite a bit.
Yeah, in both films. And in the book.
Well, in the books. Yeah, you have to read the unabridged version.
No,
it's like
absolutely.
1,700 pages, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah. Anybody out there with any question? There we go.
Rose, first I want to say thank you for appearing here today and tomorrow.
Welcome.
Also, I wish I had the title of the movie. I was thinking about it, and I apologize that I don't, but it was a recent film that you did. It was where you're coming in, your father had recently passed away, you're taking over the house and everything, and I have to ask, what was it like to work with Rance Howard?
Rance Howard is Ron Howard's dad, and he's a veteran actor. He's been in like 5 million movies. That movie was called Rosewood Lane, and it was it was, I guess, I got shot with a crossbow, if you can say that's cute. But Rance Howard was awesome. He's like acting with somebody who, he's in his 80s, and he was telling me about westerns that he'd done, you know, in the 40s. So it was pretty badass doing that. I love working with much older people that can tell you all sorts of Hollywood lore and history. Is that stuff you don't have anymore?
Absolutely. We have time for a couple quick questions if we've got some people out there we've got a gentleman over here.
You said that you got into acting by accident. Is there anything that you wanted to do beforehand, or like you were very young, but did you consider, or have you considered since then, something that you would do in place of acting?
I'd love to be a forensic pathologist. Is that you? Yeah. Are you studying for that? Yeah. Yay, you. Congratulations. It sounds awful. I feel fairly comfortable with dead people. My first job was at a funeral home, and I'm not morbid at all. I find it quite soothing, and I also like mysteries, so that works. Those two things. The only thing that's kind of a downer is that you have to go to live people medical school first, which I don't have a whole interest in. But God bless you for doing it. That's badass. What? Oh, you do it for me, all right?
All right, we have a gentleman over here with one last question.
Yeah, how's it going? Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
I'm sure you've gotten this question before, but of all the actors out there that you haven't worked with, who would you say you've always wanted to be in a movie with or do something with?
Ooh. Gosh, there's so many, but you know, it would be amazing to do something with Russell Crowe. And then if I was going to do kind of a dark comedy, I'd love Bruce Campbell. He's hilarious.
Well, you know, PD knows Bruce.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Put in a word.
I'll put in a word. Ladies and gentlemen, Rose.
Thank you all so much.
I'm going to thank you so much for joining us.